Hello and welcome to this My App Tutor TV episode. In this episode we're going to look at transforming this beautiful zebra foal into a colorized version so that it looks like this. So we've got a bit of a red, green and blue effect just on the small foal in front of the remainder of the crowd here, or herd. So we're going to start off with this and transform it to this. Let's close these down and let's get started. Okay, let's start at the beginning by opening up our image of our zebra. Now we can do this in several ways, and I'm going to show you two straight off. First thing we can do is we can open up Mini Bridge, and Mini Bridge is an accompanying software that comes with Photoshop, but with the Photoshop Creative Cloud you have to download it separately from the Creative Cloud and install it on your machine. For the Mini Bridge, which is a minified version of Adobe Bridge, to be able to work on your system. If you want to know a bit more about Adobe Bridge, you can watch the Adobe Bridge Basics course on My App Tutor. We can open it up from here by just double clicking on this image here, or I'll double click on Mini Bridge word here, and alternatively we can come up to File, Open, navigate to our folder, select the zebra and open it, and it opens up in here. Now it's the same image we saw earlier but without the colors. So what we need to do is, first of all, we need to create a new layer to add the blocks of color we want. Now I'm just going to use the keyboard shortcut Control O, which will fill the screen up with the image as much as it can. And then I'm going to create a new layer, and that's easy done by just coming down to the little button down here that says create new layer, and open it up, and you see that we have layer 1 here. Let's start our housekeeping straight off by just typing in here color, so we know exactly what that layer is for. And then I'm just going to make sure I've got my selection tool or move tool here by pressing V on my keyboard, and then I'm just going to zoom in on this particular part of the image here. Now I can do this in several ways. I can use the Control plus on the keyboard, and then I can just move the sort of canvas around by pressing space on my keyboard and just using the hand tool here to move it around. Now I'm going to use the polygonal lasso tool here to draw in the various shapes and fill them with the different colors. So let's just maneuver this around into the position we want, and then let's get the polygonal lasso tool, which is this tool here, which is the third one down. If I click on it, you'll see that I've got lasso tool, polygonal lasso tool and magnetic lasso tool. Try saying that with a mouthful of gobstoppers. Right, so here we go. We select the polygonal lasso tool, and then I'm just going to simply start selecting an area. Now I can continually move my canvas around by just pressing the space bar and then using the little hand tool to just move my canvas. But let's start here, and all I'm going to do is just make sure that I encompass the whole of the zebra's nose here. And what I'd like to do is I'd like to include this line that goes up here, go all the way. So I'm going to use the hand tool here to make sure I go all the way up, and then I come back down to about here, and then I carry on drawing my shape. I don't have to be too precise with it. I can, and then when you see I finish, I get the little circle that ends up on the lasso tool there, and I just double click and it'll close it. I'm just going to Control Z because I accidentally clicked one too many and deleted my selection. And once I've selected there, I come to the paint bucket tool here, select the color I want by double clicking on here, and in the color picker dialog box that comes up I select the color. So in this case here I'm going to select a completely red color and select OK, and then just fill this up here as you can see. Then back to the lasso tool, and then I can go on to some other color. So let's go in here and let's select these colors here, and like I said, don't have to be too precise. Once again, Control Z, because I accidentally double click too much. This time I'm going to select blue, and to make sure that we have the full range of color here, all we can do is type in where it says RGB, make sure that's 0 and the blue is set to 255. Click OK, get the paint bucket tool and fill this in. And all I'm going to do is I'm going to go through the whole of the zebra here. I'm not going to bore you with showing you how to do that, and then when I finished it, we'll come back and we'll carry on. Okay, there you go. I've finished it off now. I've put all the colors in, as you can see. So the next thing we need to do is we need to mask it. So the first thing we need to do is we need to turn that color layer off. So let's just turn it off there. And we've done that so that we can select the stripes using the color range command. And this is how we're going to do it. The first thing we need to do is ensure that we've got our foreground color set to black. So we can press D on the keyboard, and that will turn us to our default colors, and you can see that we've got black down here as our foreground color because the color range command uses the foreground color by default. So now we've got that. Let's go up to the select menu up here and select the color range command here. And it comes in here. This is one of the easiest things you're going to do. All I'm going to get you to do is crank the fuzziness up here all the way up to 200. And then just make sure that we've got this set to selection and select OK. Now you see that it's only selected this bit down here. Now what we need to ensure is that we have got nothing selected, and then ensure that we've got that background selected, and then once again come up to select color range, and then just ensure that that is all cranked all the way up to 200, and then click OK. And you can see that it then selects all the black in our scene. Now there are some color issues here where this isn't quite black, it's sort of a brown color, but we'll do that in a second. So what we do now is let's come in here, let's select the color layer here, and all we need to do is select on it, make sure it's selected, and then come down to here, this little symbol down here, which is the mask layer. So let's click on that, and you'll see, bang, there we go, it's masked out those colors, and well, it's not quite what we want at the minute, but we'll deal with that in a second. So you see the problem we got here. If I just zoom in a bit on the image by Control Plusing it, you'll see that, well, we're not selecting all of the black here, and it's not quite working out, so we need to fix that. And this is how we're going to do it. If we come up to our mask here and press the Alt key down on our keyboard and then select the mask, you'll see that it selects the image here, but it outputs it in negative format. So what we see is anything that's white in here is coming out in black, and anything that was black is coming out in white. But the problem we got is the white bits aren't white enough. We need to crank the whiteness up. So what we're going to do is we're going to come up to the image menu here and then select the adjustments and select the levels. And when the levels come up, we want to crank down this side here so that the whites become really light. So it's a matter of just playing with these. So we need to bring back the blacks, so bring them back in here, and well, we need to bring this right the way down. So trying to make these bits here as white as possible and the black bits as black as possible as well. So and that'll probably do us there, and then click OK, and then we want to once again click Alt click in the color bit here. selector here. Now let's just change the blend mode that we're working with. I'm just going to Control 0 to zoom out here, and we want to select the correct blend mode. Well, which is the correct one? Well, to be honest, it's a matter of working it out. Now we could come here and go for overlay, which is a color overlay, and well, that sort of works, but if I zoom in here, you'll see that you get these bright halos around the... So overlay doesn't work, so we could try the old multiply, which tends to work in a lot of times, but you can see this is just too dark. So I'm going to go for the simple color, which is one right down the bottom here, just off your screen here. And it comes in a bit bright, but we'll be able to tone that down ever so slightly by just coming to the opacity here and just sliding the opacity down, just so we got sort of the color range that we want here. We can leave it there. Now you will notice there is a bit of color bleeding on it now, and that's what we're going to brush up now. No pun intended there. Now what we need to do is we just need to fine tune this. I'm just going to zoom in a bit here so we can see a little bit more detail in the areas that are bleeding through here, and that's quite prominent here with the green and even the red here. So what I'm going to get you to do is make sure that you've got your layer selected, and then make sure you double click in an area off to the side of these two little thumbnails here. Just double click and you'll get the layer styles dialog box that comes up, and then make sure that the blending options box is checked at the top here, and you can see here we've got an underlying layer slider here. Now I'm just going to try and move this out of the way so that we can see what's going on down here. Now if we drag this underlying layer over to the side here, you see we sort of start pinching off that color, and what happens is the underlying color, the white and the black, sort of start showing through. You see we do have a few little areas in here where it's not quite working, and what we can do here is press the Alt button down on our keyboard, and then when we drag the little slider here, you'll see that it splits off, and you can let go once it's split off, and then you've got the option to be able to drag these in whatever direction. So what I need to do is I need to get to a point. I just need to Alt click this again and get to a point where it's just taking it off a bit there, and you can see in other areas here where the underlying colors are just starting to show through. Maybe just bump this up just a little bit more. That's a matter of just fiddling with it and getting it right. I think that's pretty good there. Click OK and then Control 0 to come out of there. Now the colors we got are very subtle, and we could probably do with bumping them up a bit. So let's have a look at the opacity here, and then let's just bring that through a bit more. And it came through enough, and I think it just needs to 50% looks good here, and perhaps just increase our color on here. I'm going to click OK. Now we have got a few issues, and now we're going to deal with that using the brush tools. Okay, so to access the brush tools, what we need is come to the brush here. We can use B on our keyboard as the shortcut for that. Select it, and then we can just right click in here to select the type of brush tool we want. I'm just going to bump this up so it's a little bit bigger. I want it to be a reasonable size. Maybe that's a bit too much. Maybe about 300 looks good. Make sure the hardness is set all the way up to 100, and just double click on your screen here or anywhere off it. Now what we need to make sure is that we've got the mask selected here, and then we need to make sure that we've got black as our foreground color. So in this case here we've got white. All you need to do is just press this little switch arrow here and it comes in like so. And then let's just zoom in a little and use a combination of the hand tool just to come round here, and then all I want to do, make sure that my opacity is set to now. In my opinion, I've just gone a bit too far, so I'm going to Control Alt Z, bring back that color. And what I want to do is actually, I think I want to just bring the hardness down in this so it fades off a bit. And then if I brush near the top of this, you'll see that in areas here, for example, I just need to feather the redness from bleeding onto the zebras underneath. Now I did a pretty good job when I blocked in the colors so it's not bleeding too much. And here we've got a bit of a problem, so we'll just paint that away. And then the rest of this is pretty good. I think we could just maybe just on the tops here just feather that out a bit, and I think that's good. Let's just Control O to come out, and there you go, there's our zebra. I'm just going to turn off the show transform controls here so we don't see that, and there is your colorized zebra in the scene.